2%. They should be much higher than that, but that's up for whoever is going to be the next president. I think Kamala, it's not going to be high on her list. I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed, along with Newsom, California. And we're not going to let her do that to this country. We're not going to let it happen.
That's Donald Trump trashing Detroit in Detroit, which is located in Michigan, which is a key battleground state for the presidential election. For anyone who still thinks that Donald Trump is some political genius, I present to you Exhibit A. I mean, these probably weren't the headlines that he was hoping for coming out of this crucial swing state. Trump trashes Detroit while delivering a speech in Detroit. Trump insults Detroit during speech in Detroit. Trump swipes at Detroit during speech in Motor City. Trump bashes Detroit while speaking there. And look, there are two options here. Either Donald Trump is too brain-addled to recognize that he was literally standing in Detroit while he was busy criticizing Detroit, or he's just got so much oozing contempt for his own supporters that he's perfectly fine shitting on these people and their city right to their faces because he's just that certain that his supporters will sacrifice every shred of their dignity as part of their blind deference they pay to the cult leader. I mean, let's be honest here. These people beat their chests as if they're the party of alphas, and yet they melt into little supplicants for Donald Trump the moment he needs them to. He'll trash them to their faces, and these people just nod happily along and say, "Please, sir, can I have another?" And yet, these are the tough guys? Give me a break. Of course, it's perfectly likely that Trump simply had no idea where he was, and this wouldn't be the first time that that's happened. Here's what he said in Sioux City, Iowa.
A very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls, and thank you. So, Sioux City, let me ask you.
Here he is forgetting that Bagram is an airbase not in Alaska, but in Afghanistan.
We're energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant, and we would have been now having so much money coming out of the energy. We just have the best. We have Bagram in Alaska. They say it might be as big, might be bigger than all of Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. I got it done. In their first week, they terminated it.
Here he is forgetting who the sitting president was, thinking that it was Barack Obama.
And Putin, has so little respect for Obama that he's starting to throw around the nuclear word today. You heard that, nuclear. He's starting to talk nuclear weapons today.
Here he is forgetting that Tim Walz is not the current vice president and bragging about getting some random members of his extended family's endorsement.
But I was very happy because I got the endorsement of the vice president's family. And I got the endorsement of the vice president's brother. And even sent me a contribution. And I was very happy because Barack Hussein Obama, his brother, as you know, endorsed me. So, no, his brother endorsed me.
And in case all of that isn't good enough, just for good measure, here's what your average, everyday Trump rally looks like.
No water in your faucets. You ever try buying a new home and you turn on, they have restrictors in there. You want to wash your hair? Or you want to wash your hands. You turn on the water and it goes drip, drip. The soap, you can't get it off your hair. So you keep it running for about 10 times longer. You're trying. The worst is your hair. I have this beautiful, luxuriant hair. And I put stuff on. I put it in. Lather. I like lots of lather because I like it to come out extremely dry because it seems to be slightly thicker that way. And I lather up, and then you turn on this crazy shower, and the thing drip, drip. And you say, I'm going to be here for 45 minutes. They put restrictors, and they put them on in places like here where there's so much water you don't know what to do with it. It's called rain. It rains a lot in certain places. But no, their idea, did you see the other day? They just I opened it up and they closed it again. I opened it, they closed it. Washing machines to wash your dishes. There's a problem. They don't want you to have any water. They want no water.
I'm sorry, but if that guy walked up to you in public, you would try to get out of there as fast as humanly possible. If that dude sat next to you on a bus, you would get off the bus. Forget being some brilliant political mind, this guy is so brain-addled that he still brags about passing a test intended to detect dementia. I don't know who needs to hear this, but being able to correctly identify a zebra in your 70s is not something that you should generally tell large audiences. In fact, Piers Morgan tried to convince me that Trump was in his right mind, and here's how that went.
Who do you think is running the country right now? Is it Joe Biden or is it Kamala Harris? Or is it Jill Biden?
It's Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, he's no longer running the country. I mean, the idea he takes that call in the middle of the night and has to press a nuclear button, I'm sorry, if I was an American, I'd feel extremely concerned. His wife seems to be running cabinet and he doesn't seem to know what day it is.
Pierce, I think that this is maybe the most disingenuous framing that I've heard from you. Having Jill talk about an initiative that she worked on, or having Joe not know the exact run of show, doesn't mean that he forgot Modi's name, and it doesn't mean that Jill is taking over cabinet meetings, and you know that. Again, this is really bad faith framing. With that said,
well, that's what you. Hang on, Brian. That's what
Donald,
you.
Hold on.
You guys said for 2 years.
Donald Trump.
Hang on. You guys. Let me just respond to that. You guys said for 2 years that Joe Biden was absolutely bang on, whip smart, leading the country, nothing to worry about. As people like me were writing endless columns and saying stuff on air that he clearly was not.
Given the fact that Jill is talking about an initiative at a cabinet meeting and talking about the fact that Joe Biden didn't know run of show at one of the thousands
Why would he articulate that so loudly and so embarrassingly?
Donald Trump, in his right mind, thought that Tim Cook's name was Tim Apple and thought that Erdogan was the president of Hungary. So when are we going to do segments on that? Just because you don't know every single detail. Here's the thing that, and I know that you don't like to call yourself right-wing media, even though all of your framing is right-wing.
I'm not.
Here's the thing that I don't understand is that every time is that Donald Trump has done the same thing, if not leagues worse than all of the small mistakes and errors that Joe Biden makes, but we never talk about those because it's just baked into the cake that Donald Trump is going to say crazy things.
Well, no, it's not that. It's not that.
And because he's graded on such a curve in both this country and international media more broadly, it just comes and goes like a fart in a hurricane when he says that the president of Hungary is Erdogan, for example.
Yeah, but you're missing the point. The point about Trump is he's 78, but has the energy of a 60-year-old.
The energy. This guy is so brain-addled. He thinks that Nancy Pelosi was in charge of the Capitol on January 6th. He thinks that Jeb Bush got us involved in the war in the Middle East. He thinks that, he spends most of his rallies talking about
what you just said.
Hannibal Lecter. He spends most of his rallies talking about Hannibal Lecter, about magnets, about sharks. So look. The fact is that Trump himself was the one who groomed his entire base and the entire media into recognizing that a septuagenarian turning octogenarian in office is too old to serve as commander-in-chief. He hammered away at that refrain over and over and over because he was trying to prove that Joe Biden was unfit to serve. And thanks to the summertime debate, Joe Biden himself made that determination. But now, that very concept has come back to haunt Donald Trump, whose own argument is now being used against him. Thanks in large part to him, we all now recognize the unique danger in having someone who's not just old, but also in the exceedingly unfit state as he's in right now, being in the Oval Office. I mean, hell, even the New York Times, the outlet that spent the better part of a decade bending over backwards to confer undue goodwill onto Donald Trump, even they are running stories with headlines like this. In Trump's speeches, signs of cognitive impairment, and Trump's speeches, increasingly angry and rambling, reignite the question of age. For the New York Times to post stuff like that, you know he's lost the plot. The fact is that more often than not, mainstream media coverage is a lagging indicator. And if we're at the point where the media is finally starting to call out his blatant cognitive decline, then you know that we've been at this point for a while. I mean, we're all old enough to remember Trump saying that World War II hasn't happened yet, that Nikki Haley was in charge of security at the Capitol on January 6th, that Jeb Bush got us involved in the war in the Middle East. I could go on and on, but you get the point. This is by no means a secret. Donald Trump is incapable of getting through a sentence, much less a term in the Oval Office, with his finger on the nuclear button. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.